And then I'll unmute the mics. I'll transition over, and true believers, guess what? It's another Thursday night on Twitch, which means it's time for some... Wait, did I roll a wild? Your Marvel Crisis Protocol vlog, and we have an absolute hot one for you tonight, and another special guest. This week, we are joined not only by myself, not only by Mr. Dan Cole, but Mr. Brian Watson, who, if you have checked out the stream before and checked out the Atlantic City Open coverage we did, helped me commentate a game at one point during said event.
Yeah,
and was the TO for that event.
What?
And I might be speaking out of turn here, but I believe the originator of the Tactical Rock from Midgard Games and the New England Marvel Crisis Protocol group. Brian, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good. I don't own the New England group by the way, but it is kind of my backyard and where I roam. So, but yes, the Tactical Rock is mine, and I will hold to that. If anyone copies me, you're free to. But just
give them credit.
Yeah,
credits too. That's all. That's all I ask.
But we have a bunch to go over this week. We are going to talk about mine and Dan's game from this past Monday right here on the Twitch for, the power phase. We're going to talk about a little blocky boy named Crimson Dynamo. As well, if you do happen to be in the New England area, a What If tournament, an event that is happening this Saturday, July 2nd. And we're going to talk about the new Challenger event rules and the timeline event stuff. There was actually some pretty massive release stuff this week.
Yeah.
And we got a lot to go over. So let's jump right into it with hobby stuff. What has been hobby this week? Dan,
hobby?
Have you actively hobbied?
Yeah, actually.
Oh.
Which doesn't happen every week, but it has this week.
What would you say was one of the things that you hobbied?
Well, I've been getting into Star Wars Legion, in addition to Crisis Protocol.
Yeah.
I love this game. I've been kind of hankering for a larger scale game again. I don't want to get back into anything Warhammer right now.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know what's going on with those games at the moment. But Legion is something I've had in my back pocket for a while. And with the release of the Shadow Collective stuff, it's gotten a lot more eyes on it locally, and people have been playing it more. So I actually got to play a game, like a learning game last night.
Heck yeah.
It was super fun. I got clones. I bought up a bunch of clones and droids a little over a year ago, and I sold my droids on eBay. So I bought a bunch of Wookiees yesterday. So I've been building Wookiees all day.
Nice.
Yeah, so many Wookiees. I'm so excited to go every time I move them on the table. Just like Berserker Mirage whenever I have Wolverine.
I think that's the only thing you can do, really.
Right? The whole turn, the whole activation of a Wookiee unit, I'll just be making Wookiee noises.
I mean, really, that's the entire allure of that unit, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The rules can be garbage, but, I mean, as long as you get to make the noises.
I think they're good, too. I don't know too much about the game yet, but I'm pretty sure they're actually pretty good. So I'm really excited to field a bunch of clones and as many Wookiees as possible. As for MCP stuff, I painted Black Swan. I got her finished up to use on our game Monday. I started on Supergiant. She's way more intimidating than Black Swan, though. She's got a lot of little intricate painting things to do. So she's when I need to be in the mood to paint black and white again. I've done nothing but painting clones, painting Black Swan and Supergiant. It was like nothing but black and white, and I was like, I need something different.
I could see there being a little bit of fatigue there for that.
Yeah.
I did some hobbying this week as well.
What?
That's right.
I heard this is a big deal. This is
it's a huge deal, actually. I didn't paint anything technically, but kinda. I primed Black Swan.
Nice.
Wow. Good
so
for you.
I got some hobby stuff from Bearded Dragon Games online. Got some that new, not new, but I think it was Gray Seer primer.
Yeah.
And
solid one, very light gray.
I went out to my garage.
Oh.
Where I left Black Swan.
You have a garage. That's crazy.
I do, right?
I never had a garage.
Because you have like 4 garages out there.
I don't know. They're not garages. They're sheds full of my dad's motorcycles. They're not garages.
Oh, okay.
You can't drive a car into any of them.
But
that's not true. I guess you could drive a car into one of them.
Yeah.
But it's got tractors in it instead.
Well, right. But my
that barely work.
My garage has a bunch of Tyranids in it, so I can't drive a car in it either.
That's not true.
The
first part of what you said is true. You could drive a car into your garage.
No, I can't because there's a bunch of junk in there. And
we got,
you're
like,
right.
tables
You're right.
there.
It wasn't. Well, there is a Sporus.
Tables.
There is a Sporus there, but it's mostly Adeptus Mechanicus, I guess, is the thing. But anywho, so I primed her this week.
Wow.
I was very excited. I got some of that new primer, and I'm gonna probably try to paint her this week a little bit.
Nice.
So Tim, as a aspiring, hobbyist and everything else, did you remember to prime the underside of the model?
So here's the good news. I forgot to attach her to the base in any way, so I blasted her right off of it when I sprayed it. So
she just balanced on there and you just hit it, just went flying?
Yep.
Excellent.
You are a noob. It's okay.
She was up against like a plastic box, and I shook that thing up and blasted it, and she flew right off. And I was like, "Oh no!" So then I picked her up by the little tendrily things that came off her, and I had paint all over my hands, and I was like in a rush, and I was like, "I don't know how to do this without spraying my hand directly either."
I don't know what to do with my hands.
So I just. Have you ever as a kid? This is too specific of an example, but. Gotten some bug spray and you're scared of bugs because you're 6, and then a wasp comes up and you just continue spraying it while it's on the ground, and it's not dying because it's a wasp and they're invincible.
Yeah, especially bug spray just repels them, doesn't actually hurt them.
Correct. So it was just kind of
stop it.
It just kind of was moving around on the ground, and that's what Black Swan was doing as I was spraying her with primer.
I gotta see this model. This is gonna be amazing.
Brian, how about you? Have you done any hobbying stuff this week?
I have. I finished up the last 5 models I needed for the What If event on Saturday.
Good.
So I finished up Colossus. I painted X-23, Honey Badger, Supergiant, and Black Swan.
Whew.
The Honey Badger I was really kind of happy with because I with her hair and the way that her face was, I wanted to make her a mopey, angsty teenager.
Yes.
She didn't want to be there. It was just hanging out in the Blackbird, just listening to music, just not caring.
Not to be confused with a Moby, as in Mobius teenager.
Right. Yeah.
Mobius time.
Yeah.
Oh God. So I tried to, as best I could, was mimic a Nirvana T-shirt that she was wearing, and I put her in jeans, and so it looked like she dyed the tips of her hair blue, and is just I don't want to be with any of these stupid adults, but fine. I guess I'll go kill people. Just not wanting to deal with any of it.
I need someone to start making Gen 3 iPods that you could put in characters belt pouches and have the earbuds going up into their ears.
Yeah, no, I did actually
paint. You did?
I did paint a little earbud in the one ear that you could see, because I was just
awesome.
That's what she would be doing the whole time.
Did you share that on a Facebook group? Because that sounds super familiar.
Taylor did, because I showed him. I showed him the mini. And he's like, "Can I put this on the Discord?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine."
Oh, okay, that's right.
Oh, that's right.
So that's mine. So and I finished up again Black Swan and Supergiant. Supergiant was really fun. Doing her little weird swirly things. And because I like to challenge myself, I assembled it all and then I decided to paint it. So that was a bad choice, but I did it anyways. So
I have to say, I've been learning a lot from watching Taylor on Wednesdays paint Supergiant.
Yeah.
That he's been doing right here on the Twitch. He usually does that every Wednesday. Gets some hobbying done for some MCP. So usually
he's good at self-deprecating and self-deprecating humor, but he's an accomplished painter.
Very much
won't
so.
Admit it.
Yep. And I'm super glad too. I split the box with him, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna assemble something. I'm gonna do Black Swan. Well, I said Supergiant at first, and he was like, "Are you sure?"
And then you looked at the model and was like,
"Is that really what you want to do, Tim?" And I was like, "Oh, good point, Taylor. Yeah, I'll take."
We need to talk about sub-assemblies.
Yeah.
You want that for your first model?
So.
Are you sure?
But he's been doing an incredible job over there. But we have some other cool stuff this week.
A lot of cool stuff this week.
Last week, right before Dallas and Sarah came on, we got a little sneak peek about the Winter Guard.
There's a bear.
That's going to be coming out. He's the biggest bear.
He's the biggest, drunkest bear.
I specifically didn't say that, but
He's a bear. He's a bear man bear.
I am Urza Major is one. He's
so
awesome.
excited.
Awesome. I'm super excited for all of these, and we got the card this week for Crimson Dynamo.
Oh man, which is a character I expected someday. Not really excited for, but he's cool. And then I saw his card and I was like, wow. Okay, he's really good.
They did a very good job. So he is going to be the leader of the Winter Guard. And listen, they came out with a bang for these Winter Guard characters, starting with this, leading strong with Crimson Dynamo.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it, but just his leadership alone, I don't care about anything after that.
So
he's solid 4 threat.
Let's actually, Brian, what was your first reaction to them releasing this card? Did you expect a card so soon? And number 2, what was your initial impression of Crimson Dynamo?
I was not expecting this card to be coming out so soon. I thought this was going to be one of the wait-in reveals for the rescheduled mini extravaganza.
Yep.
I was kind of hoping that, or I wasn't necessarily hoping. I was expecting that they were going to do like a panel where they're going to reveal the Winter Guard and then talk about, some of like the design philosophies behind, but like around them and what they were trying to accomplish. Right. And looking over the card, it's a lot of just like, yep. Oh my God, that leadership. That's fun. And then it's a lot of like, okay, all right, yeah. So they do look really interesting. I can't wait to lose a game complaining that I failed every push negation roll. That's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. That's going to be great. Because, like, if you look at it really quickly, you might just think, like, oh, it's on a hit, crit, and wild. I don't get pushed. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, I got a 50-50 chance. Well, it's a crit, wild, and a block. So it's less than.
Yeah.
So it's like, but, I mean, even still, the removing conditions, like, basically just having an affiliation that's immune to stagger. Like, that alone is just great.
For real. Or anything, or incinerate, or really whatever's going out there. I absolutely love this affiliation ability.
Yeah.
Rubo in chat says that Crimson Dynamo looks like a budget Hulkbuster, at least in appearance. And honestly, I'm for it because I love Hulkbuster, and if I could have more tinier Hulkbusters running around, like, I am into it.
And that's kind of the point of the character too. Like, he's supposed to be the Russians emulating Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even to the red. I think they nailed it. I love the look of this model. It looks like a Gen 1 Transformer.
It does.
Like Ironhide. Or I
think the giant monster truck tires for shoulder pads, I find hilarious.
It's so great.
Like, I was just looking at this, I'm like, he's got to be a Transformer for, like, some sort of Doom buggy. So, like, that's all I can think of.
We will get right into it. As far as stats, Mr. Dmitry Bukharin is going to have 6 stamina, short movement, size 3, though, for 4 threat with 4/3/4 for defenses.
I didn't realize he had 4 mystic defense until like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's 4/3/4. Okay, good. Real good.
You can't magic down a Russian Iron Man. It just doesn't work. For his builder, we do have Electric Blast. This is going to be Beam 4. It is an energy attack, Strength 5. So this is very similar to some of the other beams that we've seen. Beam 4, Strength 5. After each attack is resolved, you do gain a power, but it has Shock on a Wild, which is crowd control at its finest. I actually really like that.
Yeah, if you remember Shaq.
Correct.
We do sometimes.
Listen, I remembered it 50% of the time. That rounds up to 100% of the time from Monday.
50% is pretty good for us for Shaq, to be fair.
I only had 2 opportunities, and I remembered one of them.
All right. I wasn't knocking you in particular. So in general, we always forget Shaq.
No, I was just, I like wanted an award. I was like, I think I've remembered Shaq more in this game than I ever have before.
You get air horned for it.
But
that was a great builder.
Yeah.
I mean, fantastic.
Awesome.
1 power per attack after it's resolved, which is pretty standard for beams outside of beams with sap.
Sorry. Chat said he has 4 mystic defense due to lead paint used in the helmet.
I like this Rubo.
It's really good.
Okay.
For his spender, a little bit less exciting. Homing rockets, but it is range 5 though.
Yeah.
Strength 5 for 2 power. It ignores line of sight, and the defending character does not benefit from cover, and has explosive on a wild. So, actually pretty similar, I think, to Iron Man's. Like,
almost exactly the same.
Yep.
I think it costs 1 more for some reason. I believe his is only 1, but I might be thinking of something else. But this is it's not flashy, but I think it's better when you're trying to finish off people that aren't the direct target, doing more automatic damage within 2 is sweet.
Yeah.
You know, if you're clustered up on gamma shelters and you got 1 or 2 people with 1 left, like I do all the time, and he's just like, here goes a rocket, boom. I don't care if I do damage to the middle person. I'm going to take the other ones down.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be solid. So he's not a huge damage dealer based on these attacks.
Correct.
I mean, a beam can be, but
yeah. Well, and So, and the thing I really like too about attacks like homing rockets is I actually really like against some of the super tough characters to just kind of start chipping away while going after your main target, especially when you're clustered up on gamma or researcher or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm. I was just gonna say for the homing rockets, even that range 5 and ignoring line of sight and cover. For those extract people that are just running away, if he's kind of around the middle of the field and he's got the durability to kind of hang out there, he will kind of give you a chance if they have like 1 or 2 stamina left to just send out some homing rockets, and then you know you might be able to drop off an extract from them. So
it's no 7-8 die slam and spender, but it's good and
no
power, which he can get very easily.
Yes. So for his affiliation ability for the Winter Guard, we do have the Unbreakable Red Line. So this is where we were talking before about effectively your team's now immune to stagger, because at the start of an allied character's activation, it may remove 1 special condition. No power expenditure. Just straight up, when it's their turn, listen, they're going to keep going. That lead paint has made them strong.
Right? And that right there is a perfectly good leadership ability, I feel like. They could stop there, but there's more.
So I completely agree.
There's more. Somebody said in our Discord, like right away, like either one of those could have been a perfectly good leadership ability, but he's got both.
Mm-hmm. So the second part of this is when an allied character is contesting a secure objective and would be pushed, it may roll a die. On a crit, wild, or block result, it is not pushed. So this is
indomitable 3/8 of the time.
Kind of, yeah. So it's not throws, it's not places, it's just pushes, but still, they plant their feet in the ground and you're not moving that bear.
So good.
That bear will refuse to be moved.
I love it. I mean, wow. Like I was saying, like just his leadership.
Yeah.
He's already like way up there for leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I just hope the rest of the Winter Guard show up.
Correct.
Like, rules-wise.
Yes. Brian, any thoughts immediately about who you want to be running with that affiliation ability?
A lot of... pretty much really anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can benefit from it. Yeah, there's I mean, a lot of... I don't know if you want to kind of just leverage the durability that he seems to kind of encourage and just kind of go harder into it.
Yeah.
But there are some characters that can be particularly susceptible to like special conditions. You know, like one of the things that's kind of, or at least other people have said for like really powerful characters like Hulk or She-Hulk, just throw a ton of special conditions on them.
Yep.
And you know, you'll eventually kind of wither them out. You know, this can help with that. The one thing with this though that could be a little bit on the downside is there are a lot of times where, you know, a team, an opposing squad doesn't put out a lot of special conditions.
Right.
Or, you know, or if you're like, oh, I'll play in Terrigen this because it gives out poison and I can remove it. It's like, okay, well, that's great. But you get affected by the poison in the cleanup phase, it's going to hit you in the power phase. So, like, the poison's still going to do its job. So, like, yeah, you'll be able to remove it, but it might come back on you. I
feel that way about Demons Downtown, too, right? Like, It's like, oh, I'm immune to Incinerate. But the characters that activate early in the round won't really be super effective about it. But it makes that really important, like, who am I activating first? And for the opponent, too.
Yeah.
Who do I need to target before they get rid of that Incinerate or before they get rid of that Stagger?
It's going to make some really interesting decisions.
Yes.
You know, but I wonder if because I don't think sorry, I should have thought of this ahead of time. But like Crystal and Scarlet Witch, where you can't shake, you know, within 3 of them. Well, this, you know, you can they are still, let's see. Yeah, because it's not part of a shake action, you can get around Crystal and Scarlet Witch's kind of while they're within 3.
Because it specifies a shake, right?
Right, it specifies when you're performing a shake action. You can't remove it. So this would still work for those, for those clutch, Crystal plays that are the bane of but I mean you could have a player who just particularly likes running high status condition effect kind of teams. Guardians of the Galaxy like throwing out a ton of special conditions.
Well, and like kind of you said before, some of the stronger kind of beat sticks that can be susceptible heavily to special conditions. Hulkbuster, who is not immune to anything.
Right.
That's kind of one of the nice ways to be able to take him down. Put that stun, put that judgment, put whatever on him, so he's not going to be able to super punch me every
single time.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that play really well with this particular affiliation.
It's a nice one that's just good for pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
Which not every leadership works that way.
And maybe makes people think twice about running Demons Downtown. That is in fact a very popular one in a lot of rosters.
And we haven't gone into Disruption Field again or yet.
Yeah.
But like even that, like for models that have like martial artist or radar sense or like Black Panther's vibranium armor actually no, that doesn't work because you're re-rolling the attacker's dice.
Correct.
That's what I meant to go for. Removing wilds and disrupting a lot of the really big kind of like wacky effects that need multiple effects, forcing them to re-roll 2 of those can be huge for preventing others from putting out, special conditions and other stuff like that, and just keeping people alive.
Yeah, especially with some of the characters that we've seen come out recently, like Supergiant, being able to re-roll those 2 skulls that they really needed to be able to KO or injure your Hulk, or really anything on a wild. It's
like ask a Web Warrior player on how much they love witty banter from Amazing Spider-Man. And they will tell you how much they love forcing people to re-roll wilds.
For real.
So jumping back into that card, he does have a activated superpower called Overcharge Capacitors. It costs 0 power. It does take an action, but will gain him 2 power. And another active, and this is actually probably the biggest thing for him, in my personal opinion anyway, is Propulsion Thrusters for 2 power. You may place this character within range 2 of its current position. This superpower can only be played once per turn.
He's got a hop.
He has a hop. He's not going high, but he's going over there a little bit.
A little bit more. He's got a medium base, so...
And to be able to pull off 2 electrical blasts with beams, maybe even in between propulsion thrusters, is very nice. It makes him actually a pretty mobile piece that will probably be attacking quite a bit.
Yeah.
So while he's not overwhelming you with a ton of heavy dice, he's probably going to be getting both attacks off most rounds. Maybe not every round, but most.
No. And he's a nice durable piece. He's got the Carborundum Matrix Alloy, which is invulnerable. Reduce damage by 1 to a minimum of 1. And then the Disruption Field works on him or another allied character. Is targeted by an enemy attack. We were talking about a minute ago. The enemy is within 3 of this character. It may use a superpower for 2 power. This character may reroll up to 2 of the attacker's dice. So you get to choose which 2 dice then, right?
Yep.
Which is, canceling wild effects.
And the thing I like, too, is that the only thing that needs to be within 3 of him is the enemy that's attacking.
Yeah.
So a Hawkeye could be firing at one of your very important pieces across the board, but if Crimson Dynamo is within 3, he's going to be re-rolling those wilds for him.
Which makes sense. So he's affecting the enemy with the disruption. He's not making like a shield. He's just like messing with their vertigo or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be one up there in the fight. He's not just want to be hanging back, just shooting little electrical blasts and not engaging.
What other affiliations do we feel Crimson Dynamo is going to be great in, and why are they Steve Rogers Avengers?
Hopping.
That's always the answer.
Right? It really is. It's hard not to say Steve Rogers Avengers every time.
Yeah.
1-point propulsion thrusters, being able to disruption field pretty much all the time at only 1 power is awesome.
I think he's also good in Kingpin's Criminal Syndicate with disruption field and making it harder. If he's sitting on a point with his 6 stamina and damage reduction, good defenses, and then he's counting as 2 and making it harder to get those wilds to push him or anything.
Not only that, for cards like Kick 'em while they're down and stuff like that too, Criminal Syndicate doesn't have a whole ton of access to shock outside of like maybe Green Goblin, so kind of adds that in there as well.
I don't think he does either. He's Incinerate and Poison.
Oh, he doesn't either. Oh, gotcha.
No.
So even more so. I just assumed that there was anyone that could, it would be Green Goblin.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. If anybody could, it might be him. But yes, I like him there.
And I think you're right there with that Criminal Syndicate not being able to be pushed off the point. So you're making sure you're counting for 2, effectively just being like, you know what, Shuri, I don't care. You know what I mean? Especially when you have a Black Bolt that gets pushed 3 times in the single activation.
That's gross.
I'm wondering if with him, I haven't done the testing out yet, but I'm wondering if him either getting a discount from Steve or a power moved over from him for Inhumans, if on turn 1 actually no, that really wouldn't overly work, but. Because I was thinking if you might be able to use the propulsion thrusters and being able to get to a center extract, but then you wouldn't have the power to pick it up.
Right.
But if there was a way to get 2 power on him with the discount, so if you run him in Steve Avengers, if Wong could give him a power, or if you wanted to use one of your restricted advanced R&Ds over to him, if he could propulsion thruster himself forward. Walk up if he would be close enough to grab a center line extract and then being able to walk back away from it.
Right.
I wonder if that's a possibility.
That we see a lot.
Yeah, or like Angela and Amazing Spider-Man do all the time.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a possibility, but I don't know. I love Steve Rogers Avengers.
I love them.
They just make everything so fun.
I also really like them in Midnight Suns.
Oh,
being able to bump in addition to the propulsion thruster and be able to benefit from, a free beam attack. Well, I guess that's only Midnight Suns characters.
Right.
Okay.
It's not What If all the time.
Yeah.
I like him in
Humans. He's like a large Ant-Man at that point.
Yeah.
No.
I like him in
Ant-Man's one of my favorite characters too.
To throw a little bit of power on him.
Yeah.
Here, he just needs the 1 or 2 more to be able to hop or propulsion thruster. I guess I should use his actual name. And disruption field, because I feel like you're not going to be spending for homing rockets much.
Right.
So you're probably going to be spending his power on those abilities more often. So just popping 1 extra power on him here and there from Inhumans, I think, could really do it.
I actually kind of like him in Web Warriors as well. Being able to reroll your defense dice while also being able to reroll your attacker's attack dice, I think has a really nice synergy. Especially with Web Warriors that don't have a lot of just straight stat defenses. He's kind of a really nice tank that would really kind of complement what they're lacking a little bit.
Yeah, that would definitely be a ridiculous combo of like, oh, I'm rerolling my attack dice and I'm also rerolling your attack.
Yeah.
Like, just having them both together would just be a nightmare for some folks.
Just realized we missed one thing on his card.
What's that?
He has flight.
He does have flight.
So he's
goodness.
discount Hulkbuster, but he can fly.
Correct.
Hulkbuster can't do that.
Yeah, he's not
quite. It's actually really important.
Not quite built to take it, but you could argue that carbonadium matrix alloy might be a little bit easier to pull off since it's just there all the time. Yeah.
No, but yeah, we've seen how that can be so important when it's like, oh shoot, this thing's in my way and I can't get there because I have to move short. Flight is one of those that I think gets overlooked as just like, oh yeah, half the characters have it, so it's not a big deal, but it kind of is. When you don't have it, it's like, oh no.
I mean, does it matter on him though? He's a short mover. You know what I mean? He's always climbing. It doesn't matter where he's going.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's fair.
I just thought about it too.
But I mean, there is those rules that are on Storm and
yes, that's true.
Bird of Prey from Sam Wilson. So I mean, it is one of those little things. Hard. Screw you, Craven. You can't take off his wall crawler. But
All right. So, speaking of my mistake earlier where I was like, oh, yeah, he can't, benefit from Siege of Darkness because this is not the What If event. There, however, is going to be a What If event this Saturday at Midgar Games in Derry, New Hampshire. That's going to be a little bit of TOing happening from Mr. Brian himself. Brian, I know that you are kind of infusing What If with a little bit of your own flavor. What do you have going on this weekend?
Yeah, so taking the concept of What If and all of these characters and everything else, it kind of just ratcheting it up a little bit extra by what ifing some rules, some core rules of the game, roster building things, banned restricted lists, what have you.
Nice.
So what I've done, and even things outside of it, so what I've done is I am going to be randomly assigning 20 characters throughout the whole gamut of MCP. They're going to have an additional wild card attached to them. And I'm going to quickly go through what all those are now. So 5 characters are going to have symbiote cards that are from the Separation Anxiety event.
All right.
So they'll be able to randomly draw one and attach it to that character.
Okay.
That's super
so
cool. I love
there's going to be 2 of them that you can rotate things on the banned and restricted list. We're going to use the standard timeline that has been out. People just need to rip off the Band-Aid and just deal with it. I know some people can be grumpy about it, but they just need to. They'll be fine. So they can pick a card, and this will affect everybody on the event.
Okay.
You can take a card that's not restricted, make it restricted, or you can pick a card that's restricted and ban it.
Ooh.
So if you want to just be like, hey, for everyone who really likes Thanos, oh, by the way, I'm just going to ban the Space Stone. Have fun. Like just...
Bye-bye.
I'm going to ban Patch Up. We're going to have no healing whatsoever. So 2 people will be able to do that. 2 people will get a card that once per event, so once per out the 3 games, they're going to be able to choose the threat limit, irregardless of whether they win the priority roll or not.
Oh.
And they don't have to pick the threat limit of the cards, of the crisis cards that are there. So anything between 14 and 20
is on the table.
I don't care.
Like that.
So
all right.
It's kind of a neat thing if you have a team that you really want to try out. Or if you're playing against a Dormammu player and you're just like, 14. Let's go. Because
ouch.
But then they run that that list that's Dormammu and Thanos just them hanging out.
Right, exactly.
A good time.
There's going to be, this one's kind of a combo. So there's going to be 2 where you can, instead of randomly drawing your extract or secure, you can just pick it.
All right.
You can just do that, but you can't pick the same crisis card more than once. So you'll be able to do one once per each of the 3 games.
Okay.
Or if you want to risk it, you can just draw randomly as normal. So you can do that. There are 2 cards that will let you ban a character from the opponent's roster, starting with the player who got priority. So it's kind of like a little mini Battle Realms.
Yeah.
Just kind of mixed in there.
Okay.
2 of them are going to let you, once per game, reuse a tactics card that you've spent for a non-restricted card. So Web Warriors could potentially double up and all webbed up. I'm not saying that that's a possibility, but it like the event is called, what if?
Yeah.
And 2 of the cards will let, this is going to be attached to a specific character, will let people deploy that character within range 4 during deployment, not range 3.
Okay.
Oh wow.
And finally, the last one is going to just be one of the 4 store credit prizes.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
So there is no. This is an entirely casual event. if someone goes 3-0 and like dominates somebody or like dominates the entire field, congratulations, you get nothing. So the 4 prizes are: 1 random character is going to be attached to the prize.
Yep.
I've already selected who that is. Figured it out. If you'll have a bunch of spoilers there.
Is it Viper?
No, it is not Viper.
Okay.
Viper currently is not on my list yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So when they draw that character, they're going to get an even split of the 4 prizes.
That's awesome.
So that one's going to be one. I'm going to be allowing a prediction, like thing, so people will be able to kind of almost like a March Madness filling out your brackets kind of thing.
Yeah.
People are going to predict whatever the top 5 draft picks are going to be. Whoever gets closest to being correct is going to win one of the prizes.
I like a jelly bean jar.
Cool. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
I like that a lot.
So I'm sure there's going to be someone that's going to be trying to screw it up and will like draft, Deadpool first and be like, ha ha ha. Hey, we can get into Viper and Steve Avenger. She's that's a play. Anyway, so there are 2 more that I was keeping secret that I will reveal now.
Okay.
Ooh,
and I'm not going to reveal again until Saturday. One of the prizes, the very first result, the very first game that gets finished, that's not a concession. The winner of that game is going to win one of the prizes.
Okay.
It'll be like, first out of the gates, whatever.
Yeah.
Make it so
come out swinging or something. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. The last one is kind of the opposite. So, well, not really as far as slow-wise, but I'm going to take all the results. The only thing that I'm going to require are victory points and what round they finished. I'm going to go through all of the games. I'm going to try to find the game that was the closest as margins that went the longest. So basically like the tightest game.
Yeah.
So like, and then the winner of that game is going to get one of the prizes.
The knuckle.
So exactly. So there might be someone who tries to, get to round 6 and only win by 1 VP. Like, oh, okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so those are how I'm doing the 4 prizes. And I thought I would get you guys, and if you want, chat involved.
Ooh.
Because I have not given out characters for all of these cards.
Okay.
Like I have. So wild cards are still in play. So what I would like to do is, would you two fine gentlemen, scholars of MCP that you are, like to pick which character would be attached to one of the player bands, like the Battle Realms rule?
Oh, Cassandra, no.
Well, here's the thing. Not only the quote meta bad characters are going to get these.
Right.
I was thinking Cassandra because she always gets her powers banned in our games. So
yeah, that's very
she's
true.
doing the banning this time.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be Scarlet Witch because she's like warping reality around it. That character doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, however you guys would want to do it is totally fine with me. Hell, you can put it on Thanos and just be like, ah.
I would say Wong. If there's someone that knows martial arts to just turn off somebody, it's Wong. You know what I mean? Just
kick him out of existence.
Yeah, just pressure point Thanos just onto the bench.
What do you think?
Or like magic, because she teleported somebody to limbo or whatever, so they're not taking part.
I dig that.
Okay. All right, I'll throw magic in there. That's totally fine.
And then I have a question actually about one of the wild cards. So the characters that get the symbiotes, can they drop them and can they be picked up by the enemy or other characters?
No, I don't want to get into that much. There's too much weirdness going on as is.
Yeah.
Because there could be a player that could legitimately have like 3 or 4 of these.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I didn't want to get too crazy.
All right.
And obviously I'm going to make sure that there will be no dual symbioted Venom and Carnage, because that Like, we're going to have some fun with this, but we're not going to get too crazy.
Yeah.
Like, let's not get too stupid.
In the words of Weird Al, though, dare to be stupid.
Dare to be stupid.
I am daring pretty much as is, with some of this stuff. I mean, Daredevil is my favorite character.
Now let me ask you this, Brian. Were there any wild cards that you came up with that you were really into at first and you were like, you know what, that's too much. I gotta scale that back. It will create too much chaos.
Not anything of that note. Nothing kind of that crazy. I was thinking about doing a secret Heimdall. So having a proxy miniature.
Yeah.
So when they draft a character, and it would be on like Punisher, or whatever. But when they draft them, they would have Heimdall instead. And I would save that as an absolute surprise.
That would be super.
But because like we have all the rules for it and everything else, like I thought it would just be kind of fun. And especially where he's getting a lot of hype and there's a lot of kind of attention being drawn to him.
Yeah,
I thought that would be really fun, but I was like, I don't want to go to Staples and print out this card. It's fun.
Right.
So that was the thing that was kind of left on the cutting room floor, as it were. So if chat has any ideas for a really fun symbiote, I am more than willing to. I'm more than willing to hear them out.
Ravensguard just said Iceman.
Yeah,
just gotta rub it in every time.
Salt in the wound. Just gotta do it
every week. Sometimes twice a week.
So, and I don't know if anyone in chat has played Separation Anxiety.
Oh, it's so good.
It is
do that again.
Incredible. There are a lot of really, 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 really cool symbiote effects in there.
Yeah, I will be taking out the Sonic rifles. I will be taking out Venom, and I will be taking out Carnage because
that's fair.
It's just kind of weird, but like some of the I should have brought the deck out with me and had kind of prepared, but like some of them just you can give a character long.
Yeah.
So if people were just like, throw in Juggernaut, that would be hilarious. It's like a long moving Juggernaut. Like,
we saw that at Adepticon. We played a round of Separation Anxiety with Omnis Protocol, and I think it was Taylor got the long moving one on a Venom.
Nice.
It was just darting around the board, pulling people all over the place. It was nuts.
Oh, that's crazy.
Oh, Rev Right Mad Ben says Red Goblin.
Red Goblin.
So throwing one on the Green Goblin.
I can do that.
Red Goblin looks awesome.
Yeah, he does.
I haven't read anything with him in it, but I know he looks really cool.
Yeah. I mean, what was the final boss of the first PlayStation Spider-Man game? Was Carnage on a Dr. Octopus?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
I think I remember seeing something about that. Yeah.
You fight Carnage and you beat him, and he like drains into the floor onto the place where Dr. Octopus is being kept.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the final boss is you fleeing a blowing up building from Doc Octopus Carnage, like through vents and stuff.
Oh, that's super cool.
It was pretty rad.
I never played a lot of that game.
It was so
I didn't have it for some reason.
Like way ahead of its time. I like played it on a demo disc, and it was like the first Spider-Man game that had those really cool.
Actually had like web swinging.
The swinging like through the city and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing I've ever done.
I remember it was like the Spider-Man game for a long time until the Sony's Spider-Man on PS4.
Yep.
Was like the next one to like really match that same feeling again without just being the same game.
Correct.
So I don't have chat up, but is Green Goblin kind of being the general consensus, or?
It looks like a lot of Green Goblin. Someone else says Peter Parker as well.
Well, which Peter Parker? I'm sure they're probably meaning Corbox, not.
That would be my guess too. Rubo, feel free to let us know. Do you mean the Amazing Spider-Man or just regular old puny Parker?
I can't wait to get Black Suit Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a little surprised we haven't yet.
Yeah. Yep.
I'd be fine with another Spider-Man if it was Symbiote Spider-Man. And I want him in the pose of the cover of Secret Wars #8, the first appearance of the
Yeah.
Like, what?
What is happening?
Yeah. I love that cover.
Brian, he does confirm OG Spider-Man, and as does the Reverend Right Mad.
Lockjaw.
Well, as
Symbiote Lockjaw.
Symbiote Lockjaw.
I like Rubo's. They came into the chat hot tonight.
Yeah, they did.
A lot of great ideas.
So for the PCN gang in chat, which I'm slowly becoming more and more a part of, even though I don't say anything. I will throw in Green Goblin and Peter Parker because that's just fun.
Nice.
So both of those will be symbiotes. I will be putting up in the Marvel Crisis Protocol New England group. I'm going to be kind of going through like the little top 10 things that people got drafted. So if people want to follow along, see if any of their picks got put in, they can do so if they would like to. But yeah, well, thank you all.
Some other ones
I'm sure some hilarity will be had.
Some other ones that chat throughout kind of here at the end, just in case you wanted some backups. And we do have Lockjaw, Bullseye, Hela, and Colossus. Colossus with a symbiote would be...
Oh, that would look awesome.
Right.
I want to see the artwork now.
Yeah, for real.
Or Hela, she doesn't need it, but oof, that would be cool looking.
You know what?
Yeah.
Screw it. We're doing it live. All 5 symbiotes are going to be decided this evening. I did let some people know who might be playing on Saturday that we were going to be discussing this stuff.
Yeah.
So they're probably just writing all this stuff down.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yes.
Everyone's going to be fighting for OG Parker.
So Colossus is hilarious. Lockjaw I find very funny.
I don't think Bullseye he's already OP.
Lockjaw is pretty.
Yeah, Bullseye doesn't need the help.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Bullseye MVP.
Lockjaw or help. You know what? I'm gonna throw in Hela.
Ella,
because Hela will be kind of different. It'll be almost like her goddess of death powers. It's just gotten really out of control.
Yeah.
Really out of hand. So yeah, so our 5 symbiotes are going to be Drax, which I decided ahead of time. Green Goblin, Peter Parker, Colossus, and Hela. With Magic being the professional casual choice for one of the Battle Realm player bands. So yeah, so Saturday is going to be absolutely bananas, and I can't wait.
So what time does this event start, and where can they find information on how to get to and where Midgard Games is?
So if you do a Facebook search for Midgard Games and Hobbies, it'll show up there. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of a family kind of, I don't want to necessarily, well, disruption might be a little bit of a good term. So I thought that Saturday might have been canceled.
Oh. And
there's a thing with Facebook events where if you cancel the event on Facebook, there's no way to restore it. So it'll show on there that it's canceled, but it's really not.
And is the event on Longshanks if people want to look for it there?
No, it is not on Longshanks. I can throw it on there really, really quickly.
Okay.
But where it's I didn't want to put it necessarily in there because all the rounds are going to be randomized.
Yeah.
And I'm not keeping track of like wins and losses and things. So I didn't really see the need to kind of put in, that kind of information or have it. And plus where it's going to be really wacky and weird, I didn't want any sort of like affiliation numbers to get skewed, even though it would be a drop in the ocean. Right. Really, you know what I mean? But like inputting all that stuff, I was like kind of not really in line with the spirit of the event. So I didn't really make it. I could if people would really like to, like maybe I could throw in the lists maybe that people drafted and any sort of weird kind of wild cards.
Yeah.
And there as well, if people want to follow along that way. That's something that I could do. So it's definitely a possibility. I will let you guys know if I create it, so that way you can share it if folks would like to follow along.
One thing I'm always interested in from What If events and kind of some of those more wilder those systems that people make and formats is seeing the roster sheets afterwards to see what wild combinations people did in fact pull, what tactics cards they used, and things like that. One of the really cool things that came out from AMG this week, actually specifically about events and tournaments, was the challenger rules. And this was kind of a huge, not huge, but very impactful. Yes, a very official shakeup to kind of the whole field.
Yeah. It is optional, technically.
It is. Absolutely.
It's for organized play events, and it's up to the TO if they want to use these new guidelines or not.
And the neat thing about this is you can check it out at Atomic Mass Games under their transmissions, under the Challenger events article. They have a PDF that effectively comes with a whole bunch of kind of standardized rules, whether it's tokens, rosters, minis, cards, dice, forgetting rules, and what your kind of not obligations, but what your expectations are to be playing and to have an opponent, and how you should kind of resolve things that are either errors or forgetting to use abilities or maze and mites and ifs you want to's. It also gives a whole bunch of rules for event organizers, giving basics for Swiss pairings and round times, in addition to doing the cuts, how to end a match, and kind of some other baselines on terrain and tiebreakers and the like. But very importantly, they added the timelines.
Yeah, this is the huge thing.
And this is, kind of the very big part of this, where there are kind of two modes as far as timelines. We'll be going forward. We have standard and extended. This is actually pretty similar to a lot of other game systems that we see, whether it's Type 2 standard, it kind of translates, whether it's Magic or Warhammer or any of these other games, where it's kind of some of the more recent stuff. It is a slightly smaller pool, but a significantly tighter pool as far as balance. Some of the older, more extreme stuff gets kind of rotated out, and you have kind of a very nice, up-to-date, streamlined pool of both characters, Crisis Eye, and Tactics cards that you can use. There's also going to be the extended timeline, which is just straight up
whatever you want.
Guess what? Drop-off's back.
Hey!
Kaboom!
And the timeline standard, they've stated that will be in a cycle. Like,
correct.
Just because those with the Spider-Man face Tactics cards are not in standard right now doesn't mean they never will be again.
Right.
Like, you'll be able to use MedPack in the future. It's fine.
And very importantly, with the 2021 or was it the 2022 card pack that came out, a lot of those cards were reprinted. So don't make the mistake I did, where I was trying to run a Inhumans list this past week, and I was like, oh no, all of these Tactics cards have the Spider-Man symbol on it. But they have been re-released in this pack, and you can still use them. And I believe AMG has even said, listen, if they still have the symbol on it, it's still a legal card. You can still use it. You don't have to have the new card pack to have a legal card to play.
Right. As long as it's on the list of cards with that symbol, it is okay. They even said if you rather use a different card that has, like, say, so the only one that's not in the current standard timeline are Tactics cards with the Spider-Man symbol in the corner.
Right.
If you prefer the art on that versus a newer one, if they redid it with different art, like a promo card, you can use that. And so, like, if you have a promo card with the Spider-Man thing on it, you can use that instead, as long as it's on the list.
Yeah.
Which is cool. So yeah, there's a lot of cards that initially look like they might be out, but are still actually available. Let me go over the list of what is currently not on the timeline.
Yes, right after this. So there's a handful of different symbols. So there are, in addition to the Spider-Man symbol, you have Thor's hammer, the Criminal Syndicate building, and the X-Men X. And the things that are kind of currently being rotated out of standard, all characters are completely viable. Team Tactics cards that have the Spider-Man symbol are gone. Crisis cards of any symbol are still available. And Infinity Gem cards with the Thor hammer are all still in standard as well.
Which is all of them.
Which is all of them.
They're ones that they reprinted. They did have the Spider-Man, now they have the hammer.
Yes.
I just realized you saying that the calling it the Criminal Syndicate buildings is like, oh, we kind of have, like, that kind of implies a symbol for Criminal Syndicate now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could be what it represents. It works.
Yeah.
Because it's like street level villains.
And what's a fun, interesting little design space for them? Imagine, well, I doubt that they would do this, but if they make more Infinity Gems, if they wanted to make like a different Reality Stone, they could attach it to a different set.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you wouldn't have to worry. You could potentially not have to worry about them in the same spot.
I like that a lot.
So
well, and we saw in the Loki show, there's people that just have desk drawers filled with them. Who knows what those other reality gems could be doing?
Right. That area, yeah.
Yeah.
It could be a gem from a different universe. That works.
Correct.
What if?
What if?
What if it's the reality gem from Earth 682753?
Right, which, as we all know, is the reality gem that makes it so that
everybody has hot dogs for fingers.
They do. You beat me to it.
All right, so rotated out cards for Timeline Standard currently. These are all the Tactics cards that only have the Spider-Man symbol, have not been reprinted with anything else. We got Drop Off, so it's still not allowed. Seeing Red, Battle Lust, All You've Got, Field Dressing, Tactical Analysis, Med Pack, which is one that we saw.
Med Pack and Field Dressing being gone are kind of big deals.
Yeah.
I actually really like it.
Real big. Unearthly Rage, Blind Obsession, No Escape, Reversal, Hired Muscle, Acute Senses, Climbing Gear, which I'm sad about because I just started to use that card regularly. Extreme Conditioning, Heavy Ordnance, Rocket Boots, Web Barrier, and my personal favorite on this list, Bitter Rivals.
Yeah. I could see you enjoying it.
I won't have to deal with it for a few months, however long these cycles are. And then there's a whole new restricted list because some of those cards that were restricted aren't even in there anymore. So we have we have 2 Infinity Gems on the restricted list.
Yes.
Reality and Space, which is really interesting. It kind of hurts. Obviously, it hurts Black Order a bit more than others, but I don't know. Oh well, I guess. Also, we have Advanced R&D. Brace for Impact is still there. Disarm, Indomitable is new there because it's a pretty new card. Patch Up is still around, but it's restricted, and Sacrifice. So a lot of the real defensive and healing cards are not allowed or restricted in Timeline Standard. And then we actually have 2 banned cards for Timeline Standard, which Tim is very happy about that they've limited how many cards are banned on the actual banned list. We have Panic Grips as evacuation efforts continue. The Crisis card, which has been banned for a while. They decided it was just too much.
Yep.
What was it, scoring 6 VP? From rid of the
from being able to evacuate,
And then they also added Wakandan herbs.
And we've seen this recently with a lot of different things. Is that there's some kind of crazy effects that happen with some of the more recent characters, and very specifically some of the characters that have been updated, like Winter Soldier, that can do some kind of gnarly things on Wakandan herbs. So I do like this a lot. And the thing I will say is there's a lot of regular you have to take these tactics cards in this list that I really like seeing them gone. While I don't normally like seeing banned cards and stuff in general, rotations of sets I'm actually very, very fine with because I like heavy meta changes. And they're still available and extended.
Yes. And again, this is optional for organized play. If you're just playing at your table, play whatever you want. Like you could have been using Drop Off for the last 2 years. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This is up to the EO, they call it, the event organizer. At organized play events. We are going to be incorporating it in our games just because that's how we like to do things here. I like the idea of it being on a rotation. I'm really curious how long those rotations are going to be.
Yes.
And how the other sets will be affected when are they going to release. So calling it the Card Pack 2022 implies that they'll be doing that.
It seems like it'd be annually, is the impression at least that I'm getting.
So I'm curious how that'll affect the other card sets. So the ones with X's, are you going to be able to play X-Men if most of their cards aren't allowed in Standard? That's kind of a problem for the future, I guess, to see how they deal with it.
Well, probably in the same way where they just reprint them in those card packs and they'll be legal going forward.
This totally fits AMG's whole belief and game design.
Yeah.
Where they don't want people to take the same 8 out of 10 cards every roster and then switch out a couple character or affiliation specific. So this allows them to kind of push to the side in organized events those cards that are just taken all the time.
Yes.
And limit those. And I like how they didn't just move Indomitable there. They just restricted it because going through ACO lists, almost every single one had Indomitable.
Correct.
And Brace for Impact.
Because it wasn't restricted.
It wasn't, yeah. So like that one, and Do You Know Who I Am? Because almost everybody had Juggernaut. I was typing up the list for the YouTube videos of our streams of those games, and it was like, wow, Indomitable and Do You Know Who I Am again? So often. So, like, I'm fine with that one being on the restricted. I use it for the first time, and it is hugely powerful.
Well, and just in general, too, I feel like when a game has that feeling of like, well, I have to do this to get rid of this thing that I know they're going to have because everyone takes it, specifically with Brace or Indomitable, being able to rotate those out, put them on restricted, so you can still bring it, but it is a commitment, is absolutely the way to go there.
I don't mind it at all. I know a lot of people are kind of upset about this. I think because they have to change what they usually do.
Correct.
Or I know some people are a little upset that it's like with the card pack release, I don't know how if it matches up perfectly with the change here. Like I was talking with Taylor about like, does the card pack come with all the legal cards? And I was like, I don't know. Like
not all of them, but everything that is legal is in that card pack.
Right. Yeah, everything in the pack is legal. I don't think it has every single legal card at the moment. I think that'd just be too much for the pack.
Yeah.
So they do it, not everybody has every box like we do.
Correct. Well, anything that would be reprinted that would have the Spider-Man symbol that is in fact still legal is in there, and that's the most important part of it. Right. Not every card has to be in there, but if you are changing how some things are going to be perceived and by keeping them fresh and standard, that's the place to do it, and they did that. Reverend Right Matt also said the gems being restricted kind of helps Thanos splashing everywhere, because I wouldn't say a problem, but something that we saw very regularly, where it's like, oh, we're playing 14. Well, I brought Thanos, so I'm going to be running that hyper focus kill list.
I went up against that. It was Magneto, Thanos, and Juggernaut. I was like, what do I do? Just everybody was gone.
So let's go around real quick. What is one card that you are happy to see rotated out of standard, and what one do you feel like you're going to kind of miss a little bit? I'll start out to give you guys just a little bit of time. Blind Obsession was one that, similar to Dan, had kind of just gotten the hang of using and was kind of throwing it in lists all the time. A little sad to see that one go. Field Dressing, though, bye. Goodbye. Same with Med Pack, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm happy to see Bitter Rivals go, just because I think it's too strong. I think it should just be errated. The other ones I don't really care that much about. I'm sad to see seeing Red go. I just had that used against me recently by Steve from Power Word Nerd. And I was like, I've been sleeping on that card. I need to take that. And now it's not in the timeline. And it's like, oh, man. Ooh, well.
And especially with grunts kind of showing up, you had so many characters just KOing all the time that you could trigger off of it.
Well, there was a really cool interaction, and maybe it was in your game with Steve, where he was deciding whether to use Seeing Red or Got Your Back with Winter Soldier, and it was like, I actually really like there was options there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think he did Seeing Red with Mysterio, and then also Got Your Back with Winter Soldier, because I remember he did a lot of damage that round.
But what about you, Brian? What are you happy to see go, and what are you sad to see go?
I'm sad to see Climbing Gear go.
Yep.
I really dug that one card.
Rubo in chat agrees with you, by the way.
Yeah, I'm the one that I'm most glad to see go would also be Field Dressing.
Yeah,
because there's nothing like putting in all that work to take down any X character and just have them field dressing back up. Also, another little fun thing with not having to worry about field dressing is like dazing characters. You don't have to sit there and go, oh, well, I also put slow on them and incinerate on them and all these little special conditions.
Yeah.
Because you can just kind of like, well, there's no way they're coming back. So like those special conditions don't really matter, even though you technically should still put them down. But not having to like, no, I got to make sure that those on there in case you field dressing them. I don't want to, like don't just automatically assume anything. So.
Now for me, there was a couple that I was surprised weren't added to the restricted list, especially with the Space Gem and the Reality. I kind of expected the Mind Gem to be on there with them. But maybe that would have been too many gems to put on there.
You're restricting half of the gems. Like that
is
really
a lot.
Hurts Black Order when most of the characters can take gems, and most of them do.
Right. And the reality gem I certainly see just that. I mean, it's bolted on like neck bolts to Frankenstein onto Corvus.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if that was part of the reasoning.
Yeah.
Is so that you can spread it out to multiple characters.
Again, seeing the same thing every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Not a sign of bad design, but a sign of something needs a tweak.
Right. Yep.
Yep.
Well, and very specifically too, there wasn't a lot to work with specifically. There wasn't a lot of characters out for Black Order. Now that they've gotten Black Swan and Supergiant, restricting those kind of feels like the right time to do it because they were a little strong, and they kind of have some new toys to play around it. So
arguably got better.
Correct. Yeah. Very much so.
I still am excited to try out Thanos Black Order.
Now, Brian, as a TO, what are some of the bigger, most impactful things for you in the Challenger kind of the PDF drop? What are the big takeaways for someone that runs a lot of tournaments and will be running even more, especially what you did at ACO and I believe in the future at LVO as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did get officially onto the team, so I am very, very excited.
Congrats.
I hope not to burn anything down. That would be great.
So they're burning it with you, I guess.
Yeah.
Excellent. There are like 4 key points that are really kind of stuck out of like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Just the document itself, I think is great for the game.
Pretty convenient to be able to pull up on your phone as far as having all of these in one spot.
Yep.
It's actually very nice.
One of the things is the round timers are meant to be secret and they're variable. So it's not necessarily just 90 minutes. It could be up to, I think, 95.
Oh.
Yeah. So what the event organizer should be doing is rolling 5 dice, and for every crit and wild, they add a minute secretly onto that 90-minute round timer. So
there it is.
Huh.
And so usually I would like to give players kind of like about a 5 to 10 minute warning of when the round timer is going to be, because so that way they know to finish up their rounds and kind of do away with that. But AMG wants time to be entirely secret, so that way it might help curb some slow playing. Especially if they don't know exactly it's going to be 90 minutes. It can mess with that a little bit.
EO should never tell the players the remaining time in the round. That's interesting.
I actually really like that a lot. That's a very in brand or like kind of in feeling of MCP compared to like round timers or something like that. That adds a lot of stress to a lot of people. This makes it be like, I need to be playing my turn. I need to be playing my rounds because I don't know when this is going to end.
And that a little bit later for end of match clarifications, this says you can end in a couple different ways with victory, of course, or time. If the round timer runs out, the players finish the current round. After the cleanup phase, the player with the most VPs is considered the winner. If they're tied, it's a draw.
I actually like that a lot.
We talked about that a lot at a couple of events recently. That how do we do end of time? Is it hard dice down? Do you finish that like back like everybody has the same amount of activations that last round? This specifies even if time runs out, you get to finish the whole round, which I like. I think that's
same.
I agree with that.
Yep.
No, go ahead.
I think that's the best way to do it personally, as far as making people not feel like they didn't do something on their last activation and then time just ended. And I very much like the feeling that both a winner and loser could potentially have from being able to finish out the round versus just dropping dice right there.
Yep. One of the other subtle things that I noticed, events are not necessarily stopped. Well, don't have to be stopped once a single undefeated player has been established. So if there's a part on here that talks about progression cuts, and they have this little chart where they kind of suggest basically anyone that is playing under 64 players at an event plays 4 rounds. So if you have, like a lot of traditional kind of tournament setups will be, let's say you have 8 players, you need 3 rounds to typically establish a single undefeated player, and then you stop.
Mm-hmm.
So what this kind of allows is if you're going 4 rounds with 8 players, someone could go 3-0, someone could be at 2-1. You play that 4th round, now all the pressure is on that 3-0 guy.
Yeah.
Because if they go 3-1 and then the 2-1 guy also goes 3-1, now you start going into tiebreakers. Mm-hmm. So it does add, people might say, oh, well, that's unfair to the undefeated player, but it does add a lot more excitement to everybody else.
Correct.
And also, more games is more fun.
Right.
So if you have kind of like smaller events or stuff like that, you don't just have to. There isn't a set way of like as soon as you get to one undefeated player, you're done.
Right.
And you don't have to go into that realm.
Well, and it leans into that feeling of Marvel Crisis Protocol in general, where you're never really out of it. There's always a little bit of a chance. You got that spark of hope. You got a fistful of dice and a pocket full of dreams, which means you have a fighting chance. And I really like that they've been able to instill that into the organized play rules as well.
So, and leading into my last point that is interesting, going into tiebreakers.
Yes. I'm very excited to hear you explain these.
Just read.
So they had a formalized way of how tiebreakers work. So first set of tiebreakers are strength of schedule, which, as we talked about on Longshanks has a system that generates strength of schedule for you. Mm-hmm. However, this strength of schedule reads as the following. Try to follow along. A player's strength of schedule is calculated by dividing each player's total event points by the number of rounds that opponent has played, then adding the result for each opponent played together, then dividing that total by the number of opponents the player has played.
So you're getting an average event point for every opponent that you've played for strength of schedule.
So basically how it would work is that everyone's schedule. So let's say it's a 4-round tournament. So each win nets you 3 event points. So the person who would go 4-0 would have a total of 12 divided by the 4 games that they played. Their strength of schedule for themselves would be a 3. And then someone who went 3-1, I believe, is like 2.25. Somebody who went 2-2 is like 1.5. Okay. Somebody who went 1-3, and it kind of goes down that way.
Yeah.
And then you add those points of all of your opponents together, average those out, and you get a number somewhere in like kind of around like 1 to 3. A lot of decimals in there.
Yeah.
But because I did as a test to see if this would generate different results than what Longshanks does, I went back through the events results from Atlantic City Open on Sunday, and I redid all the strength of schedule all over again. And there were a few significant changes. Second and third would have swapped.
Okay.
Under these rules. So people might want to get. I have plans for myself to try to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about making an Excel sheet that would, like a chart that would say, oh, this is how many rounds you had. This is how many event points the person scored. This is what their personal strength of schedule is. That way you don't have to calculate it every time.
Yeah.
And then it might make it a little bit faster.
If Longshanks didn't come out with, especially because it's game type based, having that strength of schedule be based off of these rules.
Yeah, I hope that, because they have drop downs of how you want to have your first one. If they just put like challenger strength of schedule and put this in, I think that would be fabulous.
100%.
But yeah, and then they go into, and then the second tiebreaker is total victory points scored. This is fine. The reason why I don't like total victory points scored for as a first tiebreaker is it can potentially if you say it ahead of time, like this is what we're going to do,
it can affect how people.
It affects affiliations. It affects what crisis people bring. Like it makes its own little weird meta not a true representation of everything
right.
that MCP has to offer. So, but as a second tiebreaker, I think it's fine.
Yep.
And then the last one for a third tiebreaker, just randomize it. I mean, if you need to get to that point, you may as well.
Yeah.
Like adding more and more layers at that point, like it's fine. Like you kind of gotta get results just done.
Right. So NFL, we don't need a 15-point.
Correct.
Well, exactly.
Especially with the number that you're generating for your event points, kind of overall as your strength of schedule, it kind of makes strength of schedule its own very important deal. That victory points afterwards kind of very realistically should be all you need at that point.
The chance of somebody having the same strength of schedule value was already pretty low, and then also saying they also scored the same amount of VPs throughout those 4 games or whatever.
Yeah,
like that's super low.
Yeah, exactly. So, one thing I thought was funny in the document, they pretty much hinted that you should only be using 3D terrain.
Yeah.
So, like none of these like flat tables with, just cardboard cutouts in different colors, and each color is a size. Not that I've thought about it for larger events that I didn't have enough terrain for. But, like I know the game is meant to be 2D.
Yeah.
As far as like a lot of the terrain and stuff, but I thought it was kind of a nice little subtle thing of like, hey, still, let's not make the game look silly.
Well, and very legitimately, one of the fun things about this game is picking up a building and a car and trash cans and throwing it at your opponent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
throwing
not
an
as
index
fun
card
as
that is representing a bookstore is nowhere near as fun.
A blue rectangle made out of construction paper does not have the same weight.
It does not create the same ruckus that needs to be rocked.
No. So I think this is generally a very, very positive document, and I'm glad that it is it has come out. So.
Well, and one thing that we've always seen from AMG is that they try to create a very specific atmosphere with this game. I don't think that this does anything but continue that particular feeling. By making this a fun game that anyone can pick up and play, that anyone should, very realistically now, be able to run tournaments and have kind of some of those questions answered, especially if they were looking for answers for those questions to begin with. Very much like to see where this game goes, whether this becomes an annual thing or maybe it's every couple of years. We don't know at this point.
Yeah.
But what we do know is that it seems like they like to step in when it needs to be addressed. And as things get a little stagnant, we know for a fact that they're going to go in there and shake it up a little bit to make sure that ruckuses are happening at a very appropriate ruckening level.
Proper ruckuses intervals.
The old PRL, the proper ruckening level.
Lots of rucki.
Correct.
Whatever the plural of ruckus would be.
Yeah.
Ruckuso.
Exactly. I think you add a V in there like wolves. It'd be like ruckovses. Ruckles.
A wreckage of ruckles.
A wreckage of ruckles. I actually really like that.
Moose.
Green moose guava juice.
Or sorry, be ruckies, I guess.
Yeah.
That's true.
But guys,
that's Dallas on our next time we interview him.
I think that will be it for us this week. Brian, thank you so much for being here. Very excited to see you at LVO as well, and potentially some other events coming up here over the next few months.
I did want to say one quick thing about LVO. Rubo in the chat was saying, I suddenly want to qualify for LVO now. You don't have to qualify to LVO to get into the tournament. They are going to be adding more tickets over time until January when it happens. So go to frontlinegaming.org and find the event page for the MCP stuff, and you have to click a notification to get notification emails when tickets go up. There's no other way to know that they're not going to, I don't think they're like announcing.
Correct. There's no wait list.
First serve, but you can still get tickets as long as you go there and get that notification clicked.
And Mr. Brian, is there another LVO event that you are aware of that people might be able to check out?
I maybe happen to be aware of one that I might be running on August 27th at Midgard Games in Derry, New Hampshire, location of the It movies. Don't be scared. It's fun.
Just stay away from Georgie.
Just stay away from the sewer grates and everything's good.
Oh, fair.
but yeah, so I'm going to be running another LVO qualifier there. We're going to be expanding the store a little bit and having 24 players instead of 16.
Nice.
There are rumors swirling of the Montreal Shark Tank might be coming down again and stomping some Yanks, as it were.
That.
They're good.
They are.
Yeah. And I think we're having some negotiations of possibly having some live streaming done at the event. Do you guys happen to know anything about that?
You know what? We do. I think that we will, in fact, be there to stream that particular LVO qualifier.
Crazy. I wonder if you guys are the same people I'm talking to. You might be.
I do have a lot of different Facebooks that I try to make deals on with different people. So at least 3 of the people you're talking to are me.
Crimson.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so August is gonna be fun. I'm really, really excited for it.
That's super cool.
We're really excited to be there, and super excited that the Montreal Shark Tank will be there too. That's actually really exciting.
I hope so.
We're watching them.
Yeah,
it's early. It's early days, but they have a couple months to kind of get together and sort out all the logistics and stuff. But yeah, no, the idea of the teasing, of them coming down is great. So.
Well, that is also
than Atlantic City for them.
Yeah, for real. But once again, Brian, thank you so much for being here. Make sure that if you are going to be in the New England area this particular weekend to check out Midgard Games, where you can play in the What If event that Brian will be running. Also, this next Monday, one of the regulars from Midgard Games, Dylan Dyer of Dr. D. is going to be on the Power Phase playing against me this Monday with...
We got a special guest, No Holds Barred.
The extended rules.
Oh, literally.
Oh, my goodness.
Drop off is on the table?
Drop off is on the table.
You have to take it, right?
Tim, because I want you to smash Dylan, because I find it... he is one of my Daredevil bros, and, we have that radar sense bond. After this goes off, I got a thing.
All right.
Yes.
Beautiful. But make sure to check that out. That's this Monday. That'll be July 4th. And we're going to be running it a little bit earlier because we know people want to get out and they want to do whatever they're going to do on this upcoming Monday. So we will be running that at 2 p.m. instead of the normal 7 p.m. Eastern right here on the Twitch. So stop in to see Dr. D. Stop in to see me. And we'll be playing. And Drop Off. Drop Off is gonna be there.
Who are you thinking for Drop Off, real quick?
I don't know. I haven't like looked at who I'm bringing at all.
How does that card even work? I don't know.
I just know Drop Off's gonna be there. I'm probably gonna be Crossbones.
Tim, don't worry. Don't worry. Like, it'll be good.
All right. Beautiful, guys. As always, professionalcasual.com. Find all of our actual play podcasts and make sure to give us a sub, a little follow. Ski right here. Turn on that notification bell so that you can check out Monday for the Power Phase, Wednesday for Tactical Tailors, Hobby Hangout, and obviously Wait Did I Roll a Wild. If you're listening to the Wait Did I Roll a Wild podcast version, please don't hesitate to head over to Audible, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review letting us know who your favorite character is and why they're Bullseye. In addition, whole bunch of other stuff on the network on a regular basis. Professionalcasual.com or Facebook.com/professionalcasual are the best ways to play it. And this video always goes onto the YouTube as well. Link is always in the show notes. Thank you so much, guys. We love you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Welcome.